Hey class, in this video I'm going to cover using the crop tool, and the crop tool is located in your develop module. Let's get started, shall we? I'm going to go into my Lightroom catalog, which is located on my external hard drive, and I am actually in the library right now, and I'm looking at this barn shot from the Montana folder. If you were following along in this class, you may have this image and it may be located in your Montana folder. If you do not have this barn shot, that's okay. Go ahead and select any image within your catalog. Let's bring this image into the develop module. Just as a refresher, to bring any image into your develop module, you have two ways to do that. One way would be to go to click on the develop link at the very top, or to click on the image and then click on the letter D on your keyboard, D as in develop, and that will take you to the develop module. And as you know, I like shortcuts in Lightroom. It makes everything much more efficient and actually faster for you to get your work done. Now we're in the develop module, and I'm going to show you where the crop tool is located. It is in the very upper right corner. Below the histogram, you'll see this square that is outlined with a dotted line. That is the develop module. I'm going to click on that. When you click on it, you'll notice that some options will appear right below the crop tool. You will have this title called crop and straighten. You have something called aspect. You have this original tab here, this padlock, and then you have this angle tool with a slider, and you have something called constrain to image. These are the options that are going to appear once you click on that crop tool. So if you haven't done so already, click on that crop tool to be in the crop mode. Okay. You'll also notice that when you click on the crop tool, the image turns into this grid, right? And that's one indicator for you to know that you are in this crop mode. So cropping is oftentimes used in photography in order to change the dimensions of a photograph. Maybe you want to get in tighter to your subject matter. Maybe you might want to even change the shape of your photograph itself. So any one of those reasons would be a good reason to use the crop tool. I want to show you a couple of things here. If you were to go to the padlock and make sure it's locked, and if you're not sure if it's locked or unlocked, click on it once, and if it looks like this, then you just unlocked it. If you click on it again, that means it is locked. What this means is that you're going to keep the ratio of the image intact when you do crop the image. So if it's locked, I'm going to go ahead and get a little tighter on this barn here. So, but I want to maintain this ratio of this image. So what I'll do is I'll go here and I will drag one of the corners, the upper left corner, so that way I can get a tighter view of the barn, and I'll let go. Okay. And this sort of highlighted area here is where the crop will be if you were to apply it. You can also make adjustments, like say that's not quite how you want the barn to be positioned. You notice that now my cursor becomes a hand. If you click on it, you can actually drag the cropped area to where you would like to position the crop. So again, the highlighted area is a preview of what your crop will look like. If I were to try to expand this, that's where the crop will be, and I can move this around. So I'm going to put this barn in the bottom third right there. And just as a review for your composition elements or compositional rules, these lines, these vertical lines, are your rule of thirds, and as well as the horizontal lines, those are the thirds. So by placing something on one of these lines, especially where they intersect, that would be in line with the rule of thirds compositional rule. I'm actually placing that barn right there where the vertical and the horizontal line intersect. If this is what you want for your crop, you can click on this done button here and it will accept it, or you can hit the enter button. Either way, I like shortcuts, so I'll use the enter to accept it. Once you clicked on enter, notice that the crop was applied and you are no longer in the crop tool. You went back to just the basic. Remember what happens when you click on the crop tool. When you click on it, your screen, the stage, becomes a grid. So I clicked on it again, and now I'm back in the crop tool, right? If I hit enter, I'm out of it, right? I click on it again, and notice I have all these options right here. Okay. Let's talk about this padlock. Let's say I didn't want to constrain the crop. I wanted to create my own customized shape. Let's say I wanted to make it like a letterbox or like a panoramic shot. I can click on that padlock, unlock it, and then once I do that, notice how I can actually move the corner and it'll actually create its own shape based upon my movements here. Okay, it's not restricting me to the original ratio of the image. You could actually now, if you wanted to restrain it from this point, let's say you do like this sort of panoramic, you can then lock it, and then it'll stay at that newly configured ratio that you just created. So you can kind of use that padlock intermittently as needed. So I'm going to unlock it. I'm just going to notice I can actually change the shape of this image by clicking on even the side of it. I can make it really tall, really wide. I can click on this very top portion. Okay. And remember, this highlighted area is where the crop will be. This is a preview, and I can move things around by clicking in it. Okay. This would be a good time for you to hit the pause button and practice using this crop tool, resizing the image, maybe clicking on the lock, clicking on the unlock, and seeing how you can customize your image. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and continue now, assuming you practiced a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and resize this unconstrained, and then I'm going to hit done. I'm going to go back into the crop tool. And sometimes you may have an image that you may want to print that has to fit a particular set of dimensions, like say 8 by 10. Okay. Well, they have these preset ratios here in the crop tool. It'll probably say custom if you're following along by now, if you're moving the crop tool around. So once you click on that, and as you notice, you'll see original as shot, and then you have this 1:1. Look what happens when I pick 1:1 ratio. This becomes a square. This was the original Instagram ratio before they allowed for other various ratios on their platform. So I can move it around, but it's going to be this 1:1 ratio. And notice how it locked it immediately after I selected one. Okay. You can still unlock it at this point and create a custom one, but it'll no longer be 1:1 anymore. Notice what happens. It became custom. Okay, I'm going to go back in there, select 1:1, and now it's 1:1. And I could go in here and just hit enter or done, and then it accepted it. Now that's a 1:1 ratio. I'm going to go back in there. One popular ratio is an 8 by 10. They have this 8 by 10 here, or 4 by 5. Same thing. Sometimes you have these frames that are ready-made, or window mats that are ready-made, and you want to get an 8 by 10. You click on that, and it will crop your image to an 8 by 10 ratio. Notice that it cropped it sort of vertically here, right? I can still move it around. And remember, since it's locked, that's going to maintain that 8:10 ratio no matter what I do in terms of enlarging the image or making it go back to, as close as I can to its original size, or if I bring it in, it's still going to be 8:10, right? And look what's happening. Why is an 8:10 seemingly cropping your image here? That is because your sensor is not an 8:10 sensor. Okay, I would say most sensors are going to be what's called 12. I'm sorry, like a 4:6 ratio. It's never 8:10. So if you're gonna photograph something and you want it to fit in an 8:10 frame, there's always going to be some cropping involved. Okay, so that's the 8:10 ratio. And if you notice, there's 8.5:11. That's like a letter. That's a paper size. There's also 5:7, another popular one there. And then here's the 4:6. The 4:6 is the one that is your sensor's ratio. Notice how there is no more cropping involved here. Pretty much it is to the full sensor there. So, and if you wanted to, you can enter a custom ratio. So there is an area, let me do that one more time. There's an area here where you can enter custom ratio. Now, when would you need something like this? Well, sometimes if you are going to be submitting your image to a website, there might be a specific dimension that you know ahead of time, or the website editor will tell you that we're going to feature your image on our website. And by the way, the dimensions of the space for where your website will be featured is, X amount pixels wide by X amount pixels high. Like for example, the Facebook event page, if you've ever used that feature on Facebook where you create your own event, there is a specific dimensions to that. I think I've already forgot. I think it's like 850 by 315 or something like that. That's pixels, or at least the ratio. So you can look these dimensions up. Anyways, you get this ratio and you enter it in there, and then it will crop it in that amount and lock it. So that way, now this kind of looks like the event page on Facebook. So when I hit enter, this will fit exactly in an 815 or 850 by 315 dimension. Comes in pretty handy if you know it ahead of time, right? Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit reset. This will reset the crop back to the way it was, the original shot. Okay, and don't forget your history on the very left side. I'm gonna go all the way over here. Let me turn my display off for a second so you can see it. Look at all of this. The only thing I've done on this image is just cropping, right? That's why everything says crop rectangle. I didn't do anything. I didn't change exposure. You see that's where it's imported, but everything I've done on this thing is just cropping. It doesn't tell you what exactly you did, but you could kind of preview the cropping and you'll see what it's doing right on the stage. Okay, so again, that's a good thing. You make a mistake on a crop, or anything that you do in Develop Module, if you make a mistake, just go to your history on the left side and step back until you find the right place, and you keep going from that point. And remember, it even records the reset. If you actually hit reset on anything, it actually records it. If you didn't mean to do that, I can go back one step and I'm back in that crop that I did for like the Facebook event page. Okay, so that's the history when using your crop tool. Why don't you hit G and to go back to the grid module, I'm sorry, library module in grid mode. And I want you to locate this image. It's under the DWP folder. And if you don't have this image, just kind of watch this video and see how I'm going to use this crop tool in order to fix the horizon line on this shot. So again, this is actually located in the DWP building folder, or DWP, depending what you named it, and it is the DWP building shot here. So I'm going to bring that image into the develop module, clicking on D. And what could you see about this image right now? It looks like I may have had a little too much to drink while I was taking this shot, because it's not quite straight on the horizon line, right? I meant to do that, believe it or not. Some of you may not believe me, but I meant to do that so I can demonstrate this tool within the crop tool. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the crop tool. And now notice that the image has these grids on it now. There are several ways to straighten this image out. One way is to go to a corner, and you notice that when I put my mouse right on the upper right corner, it becomes a curved two-headed arrow line there. Okay. Once you see that, you can click on it and then rotate the image until it appears to be straight to you. And one way to do that is try to align these horizontal lines with all these horizontal grid lines that appear when you click on one of the corners and rotate it. Okay. So once you feel that it is straight and it's sort of lining up with one of the horizontal lines, you can let go and hit enter and see how you did. The other option, I'm going to reset this. The other option would be for you to go to the angle slider, and you could rotate it that way. It's the same exact thing as putting your cursor on the corner, except you're just using this slider, right? And you hit done. Here's another way that I'd like to show you. It's pretty slick. If you were to click on this angle tool, it looks like a level. You ever seen those levels with the little bubble on the center to tell you whether you were on an even surface or not? It kind of looks like that. So if you click on that, it becomes this level tool. And the idea of this level tool is to draw a line that is straight, and it will actually adjust the photograph based upon that line that you drew. So for example, we have a lot of horizontal lines here on the building. You know, you would assume that these are straight lines in the shot because this is architecture. Okay, so what you would do is trace a straight line. And to trace a straight line, I'm going to pick this line kind of in the center here. I'm going to click my mouse on one end, and I'm going to click and drag. It's drawing a line. Notice, see how I'm kind of clicking and dragging. It's creating this line, and I'm going to trace the horizontal line and let go. What it's doing is rotating and readjusting the image based upon the straight line that you just traced with that tool. Then I hit enter. One more time. I'm going to hit reset on this thing. I'm going to click on the angle tool. I'm going to pick some straight line in the center here and trace it. I'm going to click my mouse, click and drag. Oh, sorry, wrong tool. Reset here one more time. Angle tool. Click on the angle tool, and I'm going to trace it as best I can and then hit enter, and then that's the other way of doing it. Okay. So there you have it. You have the crop tool, and I've showed you how to change and resize these images. For more information on this, you can go to your textbook. Let's see. Under page 238, there is a section on the crop tool. It covers pretty much what I did here, but you have this reference now on your book in case you need to go back to look into this crop tool. Okay? And that is it for this video using the crop tool.